among the AEs themselves, they feel like, ooh, I only have one chance of, pushing this deal forward. If they ask a question and I screw up and I feel like I will make a fool out of myself, I better don't do it. I will invite SE to demo. And so that's kind of the something that happens a lot. On the other hand, we are actually, while there is this mantra of everybody needs to demo, in industries like cybersecurity, we are actually observing that AEs are almost not allowed to demo because there is this perception, hey, their technical knowledge is simply not there. If the buyer asks a question they don't know how to answer, let's get SEs to do that. And so that leads to this massive pressure on SE and pre-sales organizations. And I think that's nothing new, right? Like this, in the meantime, is true truth. Pre-sales organizations are really stretched. So I think there is this this idea, well, the AEs are generally, we experience that AEs are actually demoing less than we thought they would. And SDRs and BDRs, they don't demo. There is very little demo presented at this very, very early stages of sales cycles. And that is actually massive missed opportunity because we already discussed about the potential benefits of actually showing those demos early on and gathering those data points from the very beginning and actually enriching your leads, your opportunities in your CRM to gather this super trustworthy and rich picture of who you're talking to. So that's kind of what we are observing. If you ask me what we believe should be the ideal scenario, we still believe that SEs have this unique position for creating a demo. So I personally would say that SEs should remain demo creators. However, with all the tools that or features that tools like Demoboost offer, like speaker notes, like ability to create those ready-to-use demo templates and so on, the entire revenue teams should be able to present to some extent. And I think there shouldn't be any excuse for anybody who has contact with a client not to be able to talk about the product they are selling. And so I absolutely sign up to the mantra of always be ready to demo. And I hope that tools like ours actually enable revenue teams to deliver on this promise.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, in that future where hopefully SDRs and AEs can, enabled by technology, also facilitate that, I think then we have to wonder also what remains for SEs to do on one hand. And you just said, okay, you still see there is a need for SEs to exist. And in my mind, it feels not scary, but it feels like there could be a future where we actually can spend the proper time to prepare, dry run those super high level critical meetings where you still maybe need to show some of the back end, where you still need to go into super specific details that maybe an interactive demo at this point will not be able to map out, but it's still required to move from left to right. Where we actually can stick to those best practices that both Jan and myself are always preaching, because now is the time, instead of jumping from one demo to the next, which is in 90% just a generic dump of what I showed previously, to more meaningful but deeper work.
100%. I actually think that in this utopia world that I'm talking about, it's, the role of SEs is actually a way bigger than it is right now. Yeah. Because if you think of that, the SEs who are building those demos across the entire revenue, the entire sales cycle, they are actually the co-leads own a deal. They own the sales narrative. They are the ones that empower the entire revenue team. So if you ask me, I personally think that automation is not replacing anything. I think it's empowering and scaling SEs to do more and to focus on those winnable deals. Right now, probably 90% of the work they are doing is not leading to conversions. If they set and forget those demo galleries, they will be able to focus purely on those deals that are winnable and give them enough love to win them.
Yeah.
And as you said, right, so it's not about the demo itself. You said at the beginning, you see the demo as an asset, like very, very powerful asset. But if I go back to the role of an SDR or BDR, it could be a video, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a Google Doc or whatever. So it's an asset, powerful asset, helping them to communicate the value and the story and transport it, right? And the magic happens before. The magic happens if you think about what is your ICP, what are they looking for, what are their pain points, and what do I need to address when I'm talking to them. And a demo is pretty nice to visualize it and to make it emotional and so on and so on. And I totally agree with what you and Tim said. I think there we are going from a pre-sales organization, or there we should go from a pre-sales perspective, putting much more time into thinking about what is really needed, and then building the necessary assets and enable, train the organization and boost them at the end of the day. Because if we have the right assets available for the whole organization, it will be an increase, a massive increase in efficiency at the end of the day.
The marketing is already working, Anna. You noticed that Jan used the word boost. So
there you go.
Obviously, on purpose.
Well, much appreciated.
I have one last point I would love to go in here, and we touched upon it already briefly, Anna, and that's the topic of disqualification, right? If we currently look at a typical sales funnel, we already mentioned the role, you have like SDRs. Reality is in many cases, the SDR role is actually incentivized by booking meetings. So it's like a quantitative factor that is driving their behavior. For AEs, they often jump like weekly calls into their forecast meeting. And what is one of the metrics they're being judged on is obviously like deal velocity, which means bringing stage 1 opportunities to stage 2, stage 3, and so on. So they are basically measured on that. Now, of course, we discussed it. They then bring at some point in the SEs and hope they do the magic, and then the deal progresses further to closure. And that leads to some of the issues we're observing today, right? Where we jump from generic demo to generic demo with actually everyone is almost afraid to disqualify deals. So how do you see that properly working, or how do you observe that in the space, the topic of qualification and disqualification?
Yeah, this topic was probably one of the biggest revelations for me after we have done this global sales process survey. So the revelation is we are all talking about the importance of qualification and how to qualify and different methodologies of qualification. But if you think about that, I think average conversion rate for a SaaS organization is anywhere between 10 to 15%. That means that 85 to 90% of all our work is not bringing results that we want them to bring. And if you think of that, this is just crazy. I mean, if you were to hire somebody and who is going to tell you, I will spend 90% of my work doing useless stuff, you wouldn't hire them. But this is what we do as organizations. It's crazy, right? And so why is that? And And I believe that it is not, I mean, qualification is super important. But how about focusing on disqualifying? And technically, this is so much easier, right? It is so much easier to know who shouldn't be in. But what happens is the process that you just described, right? We are incentivizing BDRs to be booking meetings. And as you said, if you incentivize them to book 20, they will book 20. If they have to deliver 30, they will do exactly that. Will they be good? Well, that's not their objective. And as you said, as AEs are pushing that farther and farther, and this idea is like somebody will do the magic, and at the end of the day, like SEs will save the world. There's massive pressure on these guys, right?
And, no pressure, Jan. No pressure.
That's but no matter how many custom demos you have, if somebody doesn't want to buy, they will not buy, right? So we believe that at the end of the day, none of those 90% of your pipeline leads or opportunities have time to spend to waste your time, or they are also busy people. It's just that they want to know something, they want to learn. But because they haven't been able to educate themselves, I mean, we all have the natural tendency to be self-educating. So if they found the information they are after, and if it was enough for them to say, that's it, I'm only curious, I don't need any more interactions, they wouldn't even opt in to the sales process. But because they haven't found that, or because the SDR, BDRs haven't disqualified them, they are wasting everybody's time, including their own. So what we believe is this notion of disqualification is a single lever that will actually clean up or improve your pipeline quality. And I think it's scary, right? Because for all of us, imagine that from one day to another, you magically changed your BDR's incentive system and they start disqualifying to the level they should. And so indeed, your pipeline, 50% of your pipeline dries out. None of us would feel comfortable about that. But within your natural sales cycle, your conversion rate is going to double, triple, right? Because you're only going to be getting those leads that you might convert, and then you are going to focus on those. Therefore, the chances of converting will increase, right? So yes, I think that's one of the points that I'm going on and on about, including our own team. We keep talking about disqualifying. And so one of the things, if somebody comes and tells us we are sending an outbound message and we talk about, this is what we do, would you want to know more? And the answer is, I always want to know more. Yes, let's meet. We're like, ooh, red flag. No, if you always want to know more, no, you are not into buying a solution right now.
Sharing that, Anna. And with that, I will say this has been Pre-Sales Unleashed. This is your podcast for sales engineering and B2B software sales with Jan and Tim. If you want to unleash your pre-sales skills, or if you are a leader and want to do that with your team, feel free to reach out. You can reach us directly on LinkedIn. Glad you could join us. And until next time, cheers and bye-bye.